psychic radio, holistic radio, spiritual radio. This is AchieveRadio.com. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/AchieveRadio.
Welcome, everybody, to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. This is Ginny Gunther, also known as Ginny Almighty, and I'll be your host tonight, too, along with Dr. Carolyn Dean.
Phone lines are now open at 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027.
We'll be taking your phone calls from around the world and right here in the U.S. Welcome, everybody. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Happy to have you with us this wonderful Monday, July 13th, or whenever it is that you're tuning into our archives. Who knows? You could be tuning in 2 years from now, and we still welcome you to the Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean show. We're so happy to have you along with us tonight here in the U.S. as well as those around the globe, and we're so happy you tuned in to Dr. Carolyn Dean, who I must say is one of just the most amazing and sparkling persons ever in the history of the world. She's so wonderfully delightful as a human being, and then on top of that, she has the most incredible credentials as a doctor, a naturopath, a herbalist, an acupuncturist, a nutritionist, a lecturer, a consultant, an author. I happen to know her as a good friend. I know she is delightful in so many circles. So many people love being with her and seeing her because she does. She just absolutely sparkles. As a matter of fact, I'm looking at her picture right now, and she's being embraced by her husband, Bob. They're out in Washington, D.C., right before Carolyn receives an award for her work in integrative medicine, and her face is just lit up with joy and beauty and life and light, and that is what people are attracted to when they talk to and hear Carolyn and when they're with her in her presence. We're just so happy to have her with us tonight on Internet Radio. It may be a modest accommodation for her usually dynamic personality, but we'll accept it anyway. Welcome to your own show this evening, Dr. Carolyn Dean. So happy to have you with us.
Thank you, Ginny. That's very sweet. Even though Bob was rolling his eyes through the whole introduction, I thought it was very sweet.
Oh, he was. Well, poor Bob. He does not have the same necessary demeanor as you do, so he won't get the same introduction if I ever have to introduce him. But, yeah, I'm looking at your picture from Sacred Fire, and you're just so, just gorgeous and dynamic and beautiful and radiant. And that health and that beauty and that wisdom comes through in your radio show as well. But it's just fun when I introduce you. Sometimes I just look at your picture to give me that extra zing. So I only get to see you myself once or twice a year, even if that sometimes. I've been fortunate enough to be with you several times in public. But, just to pick up that extra zing, that Carolyn vibe, and just bring in the radio show and connect up to the audience and just welcome everybody. So welcome tonight.
Thank you. Yes, I enjoy doing what I'm doing. I'm going to get Bob to mute his phone because there's terrible
What about, you want to tell about last night, or is that later?
Well, you can quickly, since you brought it up, and I'll mute.
Yes, Carolyn walks on a golf course every morning. And, of course, all the workers that get out there at 5 in the morning to clean the course, shave the green, they're all friends of Carolyn. And there's one guy who's a really good friend. And so Carolyn gives him some spillover products that companies are always sending us, and they've helped his health. So this guy invited us to, I've never met him, but he invited us to his wife's birthday party last night. So we went to, it turned out to be the Filipino community of a particular church. And so we experienced this community, and we had never had Filipino cuisine before, so we had a very interesting, fun evening. But they kind of assigned one woman to...
Bob, we lost you. We lost you, Bob. Hello? Did you lose me? Bob? 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 You're back?
Yeah, can you hear me, Ginny?
I can hear you just a second. We heard you say you kind of assigned a woman, and then we lost you.
Yes, the community there assigned a woman to talk to us, make us feel comfortable. So she was a delightful person. So we get talking. Eventually, after an hour or so, she mentioned she had some health issues. I don't know if she knew Carolyn was a doctor, but she said she started taking some magnesium, regular magnesium, and it caused what's that word, Carolyn? Lazarus. What's the phrase?
The Lazarus effect.
Yeah.
No, the laxative effect.
Yeah, laxative. Yeah, caused a laxative effect. And so Carolyn says, I have a product named. I think you named the product, Carolyn. I said I have a magnesium, and all of a sudden a look of kind of horror went over and she's only like 1.5 feet from Carolyn.
Bob, your phone blanked out again. Bob. Just when we're getting to the punchline, your phone blanked out again.
You have to stay in one spot, Bob.
I did stay in one.
Nope, it keeps blanking out, Bob. Try again. Okay,
No.
now I
Don't
see
hear me
you.
now.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh, you hear? Yeah. So what was the last word you?
Well, I just lost you again. I heard you say the woman, when Carolyn said she had a magnesium product, the woman kind of started to recoil in some kind of response, but then you didn't say anymore.
Right. So can you hear me now?
Yes. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. This has to be a great story because, Bob, you cut out again.
I have to change phones. The phone is not working. So, Ginny, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, Bob, I'll finish the story. You phone in on the other phone. We can't have this happening. I'm going to finish the story. You get off the phone and don't critique me on it. So,
okay, so you finish.
I think it's what Bob said, and then she said, I might have said what my product was, and I think she said, what's your name? And what's your last name? And I said, Carolyn Dean. And she screamed, "You're Dr. Dean? I'm sitting by Dr. Dean." She was screaming. I mean, it was pretty loud. There were about 100 people at this outdoor party. We were all at tables, and she was just out of her mind with just fascination that she could be sitting by, as she said, this famous Dr. Dean. Then she proceeded to tell me that someone at her health clinic had advised her, after she said she got diarrhea from the brand that her doctor told her to get, advised her to go to this website and order Remag from Dr. Dean and read what she had to say. So, I mean, here we are in the middle of the Philippines. God. Yeah, with someone who knew me. Bob was...
Okay, Carolyn, now you cut off. There's something really going on with your phone line tonight.
Bob?
Okay, now you're back.
Bob, Yeah, he was too distracted listening to me. I think he's getting in on the other phone, and he's going to pass me my phone. I know he just can't stand
He
to
cannot
lose.
contain himself.
Yes.
I can't stand what?
You didn't want to miss a beat.
Oh my gosh! Now that's so hilarious because he accidentally cut them both off. Okay, we are. Are you
Ginny, am I with you? Yeah,
no,
Ginny.
there you are.
Okay, we're on.
What a hilarious night. Okay, so Bob, what else did you want to add? Anything or no? We moving on?
Well, did you hear? So the woman was shocked that Dr. Dean was sitting beside her, and she had started to take the product a few months ago, and then she reported a doctor, a local doctor, mentioned Carolyn. So now Carolyn says there's a doctor talking about her product, so Carolyn's going to get in touch. But we're talking about the brightness of Carolyn or the charisma of her face. This woman reacted that way.
Yes,
Carolyn.
I understand.
But it was pretty nice that the one woman that was assigned to talk to us was the one woman in all of Maui who knew a doctor who recommended Carolyn's products. See, that's really small world.
Okay,
Right. Well,
can we move on?
Yes, we can move on. I will just add, as the one who sees the shipping addresses of so many, is we have a lot of customers in Hawaii. You know, we have a lot of customers actually around the world, and it's fascinating all the doctors that do recommend the products and recommend them even if they don't carry them in their own clinic. Sometimes they get in a little bit of a snit because the public, you know, the public, our regular customers, so we completely love, get the same discounts as doctors do and vice versa, you know. So they don't like that sometimes, but they still recommend the product, so that's very good. Very good. Yeah. All right, so welcome everybody. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, a little bit of a story about Carolyn's wonderful charisma and how people are delighted to be in her acquaintance. So many different times I've seen that myself as people get to meet and know her. And we're meeting and knowing her again this evening on the radio for another delightful 2-hour conversation. I can see we have lots of new callers who are joining us this evening. Welcome if you're tuning in for the very first time. And to those who are listening either on YouTube or also through achieveradio.com, welcome as well. So, Dr. Dean, what shall we talk about in the opening segment of the show this evening before we move on to our callers and our mailbag?
Well, we'll combine a couple of things here, Jenny. We'll look at the recent blogs and highlight them with a couple of emails. This first email is about someone who used ibuprofen, a non-steroidal anti-inflammatory. And if you go to my website, carolyndean.com, the July 10th blog is about NSAIDs causing heart attack and stroke. Those are non-steroidal anti-inflammatories. Actually, after that blog, someone emailed me and said, "What's NSAID?" Instead of Googling NSAID, they were using me as their Googler. So I have to remind people I am not your Googler. And I'm sorry if I didn't explain what NSAIDs were. But what I wrote was that the dangers of them, the side effects. The FDA has increased the drug warnings on these drugs. And what happens with drug warnings is absolutely nothing. So people are taking these drugs. They're having all kinds of side effects, including heart attack and stroke. And they keep taking them even though magnesium is the strongest, most effective anti-inflammatory, especially Remag. And even though these drugs cause magnesium deficiency, which then causes the heart disease and the stroke, it's something that doctors just don't recognize, realize, or even, seem to give a flip about. So we had a couple of emails about this. So this 39-year-old, big supporter of Dr. Dean's, he said, 4 years ago I used to take ibuprofen for help with painful gout until one night my heart rate increased to 134 beats per minute. This is whilst being bedbound with zero movement, and he was in pain with the gout. He wasn't moving. He called 911. He thought he may be having a heart attack. They took him in, found no reason for the increased heart rate, sent him home, and he said it slowed down after 2 days. Read the insert, and it clearly stated can increase the risk of heart attack and or stroke. And he said, since that day, I vowed never to use drugs again. I went out to heal my gout with a change of lifestyle, tons of fiber, and Remag. He said, as for his heart, anytime it flutters or feels odd, I know I'm low on my Remag. So there's someone who learned from, from a very negative experience and turned it around. Now, he really said that the fiber was important. He said there was certain fiber he uses, and I'm looking into it. But fiber will help pull uric acid crystals out of the body. So it's important for people to know that. Another person said, I took ibuprofen almost daily for years. My doctor suggested I take 2 at bedtime so I'd sleep better. This February I had a heart attack. I don't know for certain if there's a connection, but now I rely on the complement formulas and have much less pain, and my quality of sleep has improved. I no longer let my doctors intimidate me. Now that's pretty important. The more recent blog was one about heart disease, and it's all about heart disease these days because the side effects of drugs is heart disease because they all drain magnesium. So it's heart disease is linked with osteoporosis, and in this study it shows that people who have heart disease are more likely to have osteoporosis. They don't know why, but we know why. It's the whole magnesium connection. And I don't know, I just got so frustrated in this blog. I said something about allopathic medicine, that from now on I wasn't going to call it allopathic medicine, but call it allopathetic, because they're just not thinking. And it's the public that's doing the thinking. And after that blog, I got the following email saying, I really enjoyed your blog. She said, I guess the blog must have gone out on Saturday. And she said, Saturday or Sunday. She said, I have an appointment Tuesday, that would be tomorrow, for a bone density test, also a mammogram. I canceled that appointment on Friday before your blog. I just felt I didn't want to go through it. I realized it was a God thing. So then she read my blog, and I kind of, reinforced what she was thinking. My doctor told me she would want me to take the drug that I talked about in my blog if they found osteoporosis on her bone density test, which is exactly what I said in the blog. All they're trying to do with the test is use it as a means to cajole you into taking these drugs. And this writer says, I've read about the side effects from those drugs, and I told her I wouldn't be comfortable taking them. So then she suggested I take vitamin D and calcium, just like you said. And again, in the blog, I said they're going to be using the drugs and high-dose D and calcium and make you think they're doing something for you and forget about the magnesium. She said, I don't want to get the mammogram either. I don't like radiation. It scares me. And then she mentioned that she's been taking much better care of herself. Her diabetes is improving because she's eating a very clean, low-carb, high-protein diet. And she is taking a magnesium. Of course, I emailed and said, to take Remag and Remite because she'd had a brush with a severe illness back in 1992, and she's not an old woman by any means. So I think anybody who has been through an illness would do well to be on the complete formulas. I won't go into the details of that, but these are the types of responses I get when I write these emails. I'm speaking directly to the individual, and as Ginny's saying about the products, we're definitely promoting products here. I mean, there's no question about it. And every once in a while, I'll get an email like the following that I got today. I am so disappointed that every piece of information ends up to be an advertisement. I will be unsubscribing for that reason only. And usually I just, dump those emails. It's like, well, that's your choice. That's just fine. But I decided to answer this one. I said, that's just fine, so-and-so. But if you had spent 40 years, like I have, trying to find some system that is as effective as the Completement formulas, you would do the same. Sorry you can't see beyond that. I'll unsubscribe you, which I did. And she wrote back, and she said, ouch! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. I believe it is a fine product and have thought of ordering it as it seems it might benefit some of my health issues, mainly atrial fibrillation and electrolyte issues. I do think I see there could be many benefits. So I don't know. I mean, people will do that. They'll just get so annoyed because they think you're trying to sell them something, which I am. I'm not arguing that point anymore. But how else are we going to tell you if we don't tell you? And as Ginny, said and kind of reminded us of, we don't sell to doctors. The doctors aren't going to necessarily be telling you about our products that much because they don't make any money out of selling them. I try to keep the prices as low as possible by not offering them at 50% off to doctors so they can double the price, which would double the price to you. And if you look at the doctor websites, I mean, one doctor who sells to other doctors, he's selling 30 products. So yeah, you pretty much need a doctor to make your way through that sort of minefield, or standard process, which I used to use decades ago in my practice, but it's lost a lot of its integrity and benefits. But because it's no longer has organic animal products in its desiccated adrenal, liver, etc.
Hey, Carolyn, you should...
I want to finish my sentence, please. So standard process has 160 products. They have to have full-on courses for doctors to be able to understand how to use these products and then promote them and sell them to their patients. So we're talking directly to you, the public, offering you 4 products orally, 1 product on the skin. You can mix and match them in any way you want, but take all 4 of them and work on any health problem you have under your own jurisdiction without a doctor making you feel less than and telling you what to do. Yes, Bob?
That woman who went, ouch, write her back and point out that you do not charge extra for the doctor route. Or tell her that.
No, I'm done. I wrote a sentence. She ouched on it. She blinked. I'm over it.
Okay.
Bob's always trying to tell me what to do. I don't listen to him
Well, it's a
either.
good point. These people say you're only in it to make money, and here you are going around your bend to make sure that it's less for them.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you talk to the members of the board, they're still annoyed with me for charging so little for the Remag. But anyway, that's enough of that. So that's the blog. What we were also going to answer the question about iodine this week, Ginny. Do we have time for that?
Oh, yes, and I just do want to make sure as we're doing this that we integrate something. Somebody's saying on the chat line, so there's a major underlying problem causing atrial fibrillation, magnesium deficiency, and that's part of the information that you've put in your blog. If you could just mention your book, and then, yes, also please go on about the iodine and thyroid, because that's another big issue we have.
Yes, if that sounds like a new person on the InQuick. Definitely atrial fibrillation, one of the main causes of it is magnesium deficiency. There is a book that I just wrote about atrial fibrillation and magnesium being kindled right now. You can just Google my name and atrial fibrillation, come up with a lot of information. Read the Remag book that's under the info link at rnareset.com. Find out all kinds of information. I have some information on my print book, the Random House book, the Magnesium Miracle, but I realized that I needed to do more, so I wrote the AFib book just recently. So that's AFib and magnesium, and on to iodine.
Just before you go on, Carol,
yeah.
What struck me last night talking to the Filipino woman was she just naturally said, we are so sick and tired of being solicited to buy this and that on the Internet. And remember, Ion said that 4 or 5 years ago, that people were not going to be concerned about their health anymore. They're so sick of being bombarded about these rules and that product and this and that. They're fed up, and they're just going to eat what they want. And a lot of them are baby boomers or aging, so they're just going to enjoy themselves. Well, we have the product that helps them enjoy themselves, and we're not trying to blast them. But it's also interesting. We come in with the good news right when people are fed up. See, the masses always lose. Right when they say, I've had it, I'm not listening to anybody anymore, when the answer shows up. And she expressed that. And she was so happy something worked.
Yeah, that's true. She did. Okay, someone wrote last week, and we didn't get to it, and I wanted to do a little reading on it. This woman said, I haven't been able to find anything in our archives on iodide, I-O-D-I-D-E. Is the iodine in Remite converted to iodide after it's ingested? I have read that the thyroid needs iodide more than iodine, so I wonder if I need to supplement with something else in addition to Remite to support my thyroid. And she says, I'm 56 years old with hypothyroid Hashimoto's and have been taking Synthroid for 18 years. So this begins, the rabbit hole of iodine, iodide. One of the lay books out about iodine says that iodine and iodide are interchangeable. I think it's kind of a semantics thing. When you look at the atomic number of iodine, I-O-D-I-N-E, it's 53. That means one little iodine atom sitting in the middle of the room is atomic number 53, I-O-D-I-N-E, but that's not stable. That little bit of iodine will be attracted to bind with something else, which then makes it iodide, I-O-D-I-D-E. The most common one is potassium iodide, and that tends to be the form that people ingest. This whole business about, there are some forms, they say, like the iodoral that has iodine and iodide, but again, it's just semantics. When you dissolve potassium iodide in water or in the fluids in your body, then the ion or atom of iodine will become available to be absorbed into the cells. And that's what you want. You don't want potassium iodine in your cells. You want iodine. And what we've got with the Remite, the way the minerals are stabilized in their ionic form, you've got a stabilized ion or atom of iodine, which gets into the cells and does its work, brilliantly, to the point where I don't know if my client is listening, but a client was mistaking his dosage of Remite, was taking tablespoons instead of teaspoons, and I think he really pushed his pulse anyway, so he's pushing his thyroid. The iodine is therapeutic in the Remite. After 2 months on Remite, as I was testing it, my pulse started going up, and I stopped my thyroid hormone because I knew I was pushing my thyroid too much with the hormone and the iodine and the other minerals in Remite. So the answer to this person's question is, just when you look a little further into iodine and iodide, they are interchangeable. It's just semantics. What you want is a stabilized ion of iodine in your cells to do its job. And, the reason why some of these formulas like Lugol's or iodoral are given in such massive quantities is because they're poorly absorbed. You have to depend on the body kind of liquefying the potassium iodide or somehow ionizing the iodine to be able to absorb it into the cells. Well, that's what the expensive processing of the Remite is doing to those minerals. Now, I don't want to get into many more words because it's just that simple. And I'm just going to ask you, Ginny, if that makes any sense to you, and if you have any questions, or if we can move on.
It does make sense. The questions are, is the amount of iodine in Remite the daily amount that's required? And also, what do critics of iodine say? That a lot of people argue that it's not needed. I mean, these are the questions we get. Mm-hmm. Some say it is, some say it isn't, and how much do I need?
Right. The amount of iodine in Remite is the RDA, just what is considered to be the low end of the spectrum, the recommended daily allowance. People think we need a lot more, but I think the RDA stands. If all of that is getting into the cells, I don't like to give more than that. The reason why there's big battles about iodine is some sensitive people, perhaps when they take the wrong types of iodine or, take too much of it, they can react, and maybe it doesn't necessarily harm their thyroid, but I think maybe they go through detoxification, and then that detoxification is misunderstood as reacting negatively to iodine. I know some of the lay books out there on high-dose iodine therapy will say that you have to be very careful to recognize iodine detox. And I say to people, well, I'd rather not go through iodine detox. I'm putting people through magnesium detox, and that's enough. But I mean, in the allopathic medical world, they're always kind of very much against any sort of supplementation because it's not what doctors learn in medical school. So they just say no to everything, and they'll formulate reasons why that may not be true. I say to get around the whole problematics of iodine therapy is just use the Remite with the proper amount of iodine in there and with the other 8 minerals that the thyroid requires to make your thyroid hormone. Because if you're just thinking, well, I'll take iodine for my thyroid and that's all I need, you're going to throw things off and get into problems in that way. It's really important to keep the balance.
Very good. So it's iodine plus the other 9 or 8 to really balance it out, and not only the work with the thyroid, but then also the iodine does have a key role in immunity too, right? Boosting the immune system.
Absolutely, yes. Yes. I mean, there's a lot. It does, when people say, well, I'm on thyroid hormone, I don't need Remite, my thyroid's taken care of, but the body really does need all these minerals, and although we kind of promote Remag because it does have the 9 minerals that are required by the thyroid, if you read the Remite book and read through all the 12 minerals, you'll see where they all come into play.
Very good, very good. All right, excellent. Thank you, Carolyn. That's very helpful, and it'll be good FAQ for our customers who call and ask that question or email in. Awesome. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. About 20 minutes to the top of the first hour, and then we'll be back again with you for another hour after that. So we're just early in our show. So grateful that you're with us this evening and looking forward to having great questions and exchange with Dr. Dean, as well as getting into our mailbag, which I think is full and replete with fascinating and fabulous questions that will evoke all kinds of great comments and wisdom from Dr. Dean. So just to lay down the ground rules here for the rest of the show, if you're listening via YouTube or also through Achieve Radio and you'd like to talk with Carolyn one-on-one, you dial 602-666-6027. That's 602-666-6027. That will put you into the Achieve Radio studio. When you get into the conference call, please hit star 5 on your keypad. Star 5 will raise your hand and let me know that you have a question or comment, and then I'll put you on the phone with Carolyn. Also, if you're at the station level and you just want to send us a quick InQuick message, you can do that either on the chat line or the InQuick private messaging system at Studio A, and that's all pretty self-explanatory. If you need help with understanding that, you should just call in anyway, 602-666-6027. So let's do a couple in quick, Carolyn, and then we'll go to any callers if we have some. Again, you have to hit star 5 on your keypad to raise your hand and let me know that you have a question or comment, and I'll put you on the line with Carolyn. And a real quick question, Carolyn, from the InQuick messaging system. Susan in North Carolina says there's much talk of the microbiome now. Besides Prescript Assist, what else in the complement formulas can be helpful, or is it something we should be concerned about?
Well, yeah, it's like allopathic medicine has begun to talk about the microbiome as if it never existed before. We've been talking about using probiotics forever in natural medicine. The complement formulas, the RNA drops have prebiotics and probiotics, and they help heal the intestines. A Prescript Assist is a soil-based probiotic that's also excellent. The minerals, Remag and Remite, they're all going to be healing the any sort of leaky gut by helping heal the cells. The Realign is taking out the garbage to allow the the cell building blocks to create the perfect cells that are directed by the RNA drop. So you are covered, Susan. Do not look at all these new diseases as if they're new. There's nothing new under the sun. They're just reworked, as I said, for allopathic medicine, or even the new so-called green allopathic doctors who just want to sell you more products. I mean, I've really got to be under my bonnet about this, because it doesn't have to be that difficult where you have to have a naturopath either test you on their machines to tell you that you have 100 things wrong with you, or even muscle test you against their 100 products on their shelves. I mean, I don't know how many people on the call heard me talk about, I think I blogged about one of my clients who was on 300 to 500 pills a day from her nutritionist because she kept having all these symptoms, many of them caused by taking too many supplements. So I think that Ginny and I and the RNA Reset team are doing incredible work by just keeping it at 4 products. You know, we'll get into our Bread of Life and Living Water as we're going along, but we're keeping it down to a system that you can be in charge of. And I appreciate Susan's question, because it gives me a chance every time you ask me about a condition. I'll tell you how these 4 products are built to be able to deal with any condition you can throw at me. So there.
Excellent comment, Carolyn. And also, one of the things about the 4 products, too, is not only is it simple, but they're very, very powerful. And I think the thing that we encounter the most is when people start using our products and they go way overboard. And like I got an email today. I started 4 days ago, and I'm doing a teaspoon of Remag. And our instructions specifically said, start out with 4 teaspoons. But they just want to jump into the deep waters, and they don't really realize how powerful the products are. And they don't require that much. The body is so amazing, and it can use our products so efficiently. And so not only are they great and they're simple, but they're powerful, and you don't need a lot. You don't need 500. Can you imagine taking 500 anything of the complement formula? How would you even get to that? So there's another thing to consider as we're talking about this. Susan in North Carolina also texted in another question. A relative has recently had migraines. Her doctor prescribed Imitrex. I imagine Remag would be better. If so, how much?
It's the same for, I was going to say the same for everybody, but it begins the same for everybody, Susan, where you start with a quarter teaspoon and work up, and the therapeutic dose to stop at 2 or 3 teaspoons. You just know that it's going to work. It's all in the Remag book. When Ginny will mail out this Remag to your relative, it'll all be described on the paper there. But people don't read labels, and they'll call us for directions. But begin with a quarter teaspoon. A little sentence from somebody right here says that, I can't thank you enough for your Remag. With just 1 teaspoon a day, my atrial fibrillation is a thing of the past. So that person is fine on 1 teaspoon. Me, I have to take 2 and 3 teaspoons a day for probably for the stress that I have to deal with all these emails. But no, I'm just kidding. Oh, Lord, that was funny. That was very good. It's not true, but it was cute. Yeah, very good. Very good. All right, we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Chief Radio. How about if we take some live callers, Carolyn? What do you think?
Oh, yeah, that'd be cool. Okay, excellent. So we'll go to the great state of North Carolina, area code 919. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. If you could state your name and then give your question or comment.
Yeah, hi, this is Ramona. How are you doing, Dr. Dean? How's everything?
Fine, thank you. Is it Ramona?
Yes, it is. Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, good. Thanks for calling back. What's going on?
Well, let's see. You kind of answered one of my questions. I had kind of a three-part question. I wanted to find out, is there ever a limit of taking Remag daily, putting it in the 33 ounces of water with salted water? Is there a limit? Meaning, since you don't know the laxative effect, there has no laxative effect, so you can't count on that as a safe mode. But is there a limit?
Ramona, hang on. Let me get in there.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. If, for example, if I take 4 or 5 teaspoons, I get the laxative effect. This is not, Remag is not going to, you can't take it forever without consequences. There's always going to be that fail-safe. So, yeah, you'll get to the laxative effect if you take, quote, too much, okay?
Okay, that's a good, I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay, and part of that question as well is if you find that Remag is not being absorbed by your cellular level.
Remag, there is no way Remag is not absorbed, Ramona. It's just the function of its size. It starts being absorbed in your mouth, in your esophagus, in your stomach. It is absorbed, and that's why we do it in the salted water to slow, kind of spread out the absorption so you get the best of it. But I'll say that, but was there something more to your question?
Yeah, because I noticed when I was taking, I think I was up to about 3 to 4 teaspoons. I remember it being like still like off and on. I would still have a few of the, heart palpitation. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah.
I said, maybe it's not really being absorbed because I know I just getting some lymphatic blockages done. So I wasn't sure if something was causing it not to be absorbed because it just seemed like I was still off and on, not every day, but I noticed from time to time I would be sipping it and I would feel the palpitations. So I felt
right. Well, tell me, how long have you been on the Remag, Ramona?
I have to admit, I was on it at that time about maybe 3 months, 2 to 3 months. Then I got a little bit maybe it's not. Yeah, go ahead.
Hang on, dear. I would say that's not long enough to get your body saturated and everything sorted out and everything healed. I don't know the area that goes into the fibrillation. Maybe it has some calcification on it. Maybe it has a little bit of scar tissue. That's going to take time to heal. This is not a drug where you hammer yourself with it and everything goes away. But, drugs have all bad side effects. Yeah. So it's about the timing. 3 months is not enough. The other is, you said you're taking the salted water. That's great. I think you're also on the Remide and the Realign and the RNA drops, are you?
To be honest with you, I was, and I feel a little ashamed of myself. I was on it, and I'm thinking I have to go back into that. And, of course, I got convinced by another holistic doctor, like, that's great, they admire you, but you need to take ours, and this is the reason why. So, through my naive, I did switch over, and now I want to come back home, so to speak. So I haven't taken it in a while. And I'm thinking, like, maybe I should go back. And I was going to ask, if you're taking something else for maybe 3 months, is it bad for your system? Because they say you really shouldn't keep switching back and forth with supplements.
I mean, with drugs that might be the case, but with supplements, unless you're not, but unless you're taking 300 to 500, the supplements either work or they don't work. And if they, if they're I don't know what you were taking, but if you had the example of taking all the complete mint formulas and felt a certain way, and then stopped, you took something else, you felt a certain way, then you draw the comparison and decide what you want. I just know that 3 months of the formulas to heal an atrial fibrillation is likely not enough, and you should have emailed Ginny or me to say, look, my doctor says maybe I should do this and that, and we would have given you our opinion on it.
Okay. Yeah, like I said, I'm just basically taking another form of calcium and magnesium.
Why are you taking calcium? Why
well,
are you taking calcium?
It's part of the formula, meaning I guess you need those 4 nutrients to make it work, the potassium, calcium.
Have you read what I say about calcium, though, Ramona?
I have read it, not all of it. I have read it's not the best in the world. Like we get too much calcium in our system already, so why take any additional?
Right.
Okay,
right.
So you see, I did read.
But you still took the calcium.
Only because, like I said, this is just like you're famous. This holistic doctor is very famous, just like yourself. So, I took it from being like, okay, you know what you're talking about. I admit it, I don't know everything that you know more, so I'm going to go with that. So that's where it happened with that one. But then I'm coming to realization, you know what? Say what your gut, and right now, Remag should be really what your gut is saying. So that's why I was calling again to say I think I need to come back in this different direction, and I just think I need to give it a little bit more time, because right now I'm having a lot of digestive issues, diarrhea. I don't know if it's coming from the calcium, magnesium. I don't know if it's coming just from me.
Right,
it's like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a turn spin here. So I will do that, but I wanted to just make sure and, kind of if I could switch over without it having any harm.
Oh, yeah, that shouldn't be a problem. But, it sounds like the combination you're taking has the wrong kind of magnesium, maybe an oxide or, something that's giving the diarrhea, but then the calcium on top of it will, bump your magnesium out of commission even more. So, and these things sometimes, take time to give you the side effects. So it is hard in the middle of it to decide what to do. But diarrhea is not a good thing. That makes you lose all kinds of nutrients. So you just went through what I call the experiment. People will walk away. People will walk away from a good thing and try the experiment, and then they see, oh, okay, not so much.
Yeah, exactly what I did. I went to the experiment. Okay, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and so now I know what I have to start doing.
Okay, Ramona.
Right.
Okay,
right.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye-bye. Yeah, it's
all
the
right.
contrast with life. It's the contrast we're after all the time.
Right. Well, get your contrast in a different form maybe too, because I think one of the things that happens also, Carolyn, is people are so desperate to feel better, and there are other factors besides the chemical body that are influencing how people are feeling. There's a lot of going on in the whole the chip body world. People are inundated with information that has a stress on the body and the mind. I mean, there's so many other different things. So fortunately, all of our formulas address that. I mean, when you're getting the Remag and the Remide and the RNA drops and the Realign, you're getting the wisdom of the whole formula that works to protect against all these different environmental factors. So, there's that to consider as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well,
we're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Let's go to our next caller. We'll try to squeeze it in before the top of the hour. Area code 661. 661, you're on the line with Dr. Dean. Can you hear me? There you go. You're on the line.
Hello? Matt.
Yep.
Matt.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Go ahead.
Yes, I just got kicked off, so I'm back. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Carolyn.
Hi, you got 1 minute, but we'll take you over the top of the hour, Matt. Start your question.
Okay. I've been dealing with a heat rash for a while, and I found one of your old articles, Carolyn, and I just wanted to know if you could update that article, or you had anything with that.
Well, a heat rash, I mean, what are you doing? Sweating? Are you doing athletics? How did you develop the heat rash?
Just like day to day, it's pretty hot where I live, and I think it's like my clothing is almost like agitating my skin at times. If I get really hot, then I'm getting a big rash all over my basically body. Mm-hmm. Even if I'm not doing athletics, I'm getting rash if I get hot.
Right. How long has it been happening?
It got severe this summer, but it went away a bit. But I've had it for like 10 years.
Uh-huh. So do you think you have yeast overgrowth?
I don't know.
Okay, so email Ginny at support@rnareset.com. She'll send you the yeast questionnaire. That's the place to start because toxins come out on the skin, and with the sweat and everything, it can get very irritating. But that's the place to start. It's like kids getting diaper rash or infants getting diaper rash. It's usually yeast. And we're at the top of the hour. Okay, Matt?
Okay.
Ginny. Okay, very good. Sorry, I didn't hear. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Okay, so we're going to take a break, and I think Bill's going to give you a break, Carolyn, at the top of the hour, so you have time to go get something to drink and stretch out your body, and then come on back, and we'll jump back on with more callers and our mailbag here at Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean on Achieve Radio. We'll be right back, everybody.
We'll be back with Hour 2 of Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with host Ginny Gunther, after this brief station break. You can also get updates and resources online by visiting drcarolyndean.com.
Listening to AchieveRadio.com, the positive side of broadcasting.
We return now live with Dr. Carolyn Dean, along with your host, Ginny Gunther, here on AchieveRadio.com. Skype us at ar.call.in. That's ar.call.in.
Welcome, everybody. We're back live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here at AchieveRadio.com. Okay, I think that was a little bit more of a break, Carolyn. Were you able to get up and wet your whistle?
I got one of two things done, so that's an improvement.
Okay. Apparently, Bill just cannot live without you and has to have you right back. Okay, we'll throw some.
Well, Bob's the same way. He doesn't like to waste the top of the hour on whatever informalities.
That's right. That's right. Well, we're back, everybody, with Dr. Carolyn Dean, taking your calls at 602-666-6027. And if you're listening to the archive and encounter a question or clarification that you need about the show that you're listening to, you can email support, SUPPORT, at rnareset.com, and we'll either answer your question with the FAQ response or we'll forward it on to Carolyn for her personal attention and wisdom. But either way, you'll get a response from us. Give us 24 to 48 hours to respond. Okay, let's see, Carolyn. So we press on. Star 5 on your keypad for those who are listening and would like to chitty-chat with Dr. Dean and have anything that they'd like to say or contribute. That would be star 5 on your keypad to raise your hand. And if we don't have any new callers, we will press on with our mailbag, Carolyn. Okay, let's see. Yep, let's go to the, I knew there were people who wanted to talk to you because we have all these new callers. Okay, very good. So let's go to area code 919. Again, the great state of North Carolina really ringing the bell tonight. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Go ahead and give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yes, my name is Roman, and I have a question. Oh, hi, Dr. Dean.
Hi, go ahead, Roman.
Yes, ma'am. I do have a question for you. I'll try to be as quick as I can, but 6 months ago I was hospitalized with AFib, and my heart rate was like 230. It was just crazy. I was in there for 3 days. My cardiologist gave me, I'm on Sotalol right now, 40 milligrams. And I started taking Remag. I got a hold of your book, The Magnesium Miracle, and I've read it 2 times. I ordered Remag and Remite about 2 months ago, and it has made a major improvement in my life. 98% of the AFib spells are gone. I was having them almost every day. Some of them, sometimes they would last 4 hours, sometimes it would be 6 hours. I still have a little bit of lingering AFib, and I guess I was scheduled to get an ablation in August. But now I'm wondering if I need to go through all that torture of the ablation because the Remag is working, but I still have some residual AFib. I was at the beach in the hot weather, and I had a short spell, and I do transdermal magnesium also. Right now I've worked my way up to 2 teaspoons of Remag, 2 teaspoons and a half. The Remite, I'm doing about a quarter of a teaspoon 2 times a day, and I do the salt water. But I was wondering, should I proceed with the? I asked my doctor about it, and he said, well, I'm not sure magnesium will prevent the. I was really excited, and I went and told him, and he said, well, I don't know if the magnesium will hold the AFib off because there's not really any cure for AFib. But I read your book, and calcium. Really, eating cheese still tends to bother me some. I stay totally away from calcium except what I get into Remite. But if I could just get your opinion, I'm dying to know how long do you think it will take me to get rid of this horrible thing? I would say it's 98%, 95% gone.
Okay, my turn. Great overview. You said everything, even to talking about your cheese, your calcium in your diet. I would say if you've only been taking the Remag and the little bit of Remite for 2 months, you're doing amazingly. And I guess the things that your doctor's saying that your doctor's looking at magnesium as if it were drug, just to push your symptoms back like a drug would. The doctor doesn't realize that it can be a cure. Your doctor said it can't be cured. That's their opinion, but I don't think it's true. I don't think it's justified to be able to say that. So what you've got to do is really study what the ablation is, what it does, and make your own decision. I mean, I really cannot say to you yes or no. I haven't, it's got to be coming from you as to what you felt like before, from your studying of REMAG and magnesium, I should say, why you got into that situation, how long you've been magnesium deficient, and then say to yourself, well, I'll give it 6 months, I'll give it 9 months, I'll give it a year, and see if my EKG, see if everything is perfect. Maybe I'll go to a different cardiologist who never even knew I had a atrial fibrillation episode and ask for an opinion which isn't colored by the fact that they think AFib is incurable. I mean, you're up against a mountain when you look at AFib and allopathic medicine, because they will try to make you think that you're always going to have a problem. In the next couple of weeks, in fact, I should email the guy who's kindling my AFib book. I lay it all out, and I have a very detailed testimonial from a woman who it took her 1.5 years to really get everything out of the way that was causing her atrial fibrillation, and she refused ablation and cardioversion and all that, and that was her stand. I mean, it sounds like, Roman, you're a little bit, on the fence about it, but you're going to have to get clear on your own self whether or not you're going to do it and how much time you're going to give yourself to really prove that the REMAG is helping. 2 1/4 teaspoons sounds good, especially if you're also using some transdermal. But I do think you should be on 1.5 teaspoons of Remite, because there's all kinds of other minerals that can be helpful and supportive to your heart. So that's my opinion.
I did want to tell you one other quick thing. I've suffered with heart issues, with tachycardia and severe panic disorders since I was 18. I'm 50 now. And I got over it for a short time, and the AFib started the panic disorder. Well, I wanted to tell you, shortly after doing the REMAG and the Remite, my panic disorder, I was taking gabapentin, I was taking Neurontin 3 times a day, and lorazepam, and I'm totally off of all that. And I've actually reduced the Sotalol. I'm taking about 30 milligrams of that now. I've been able to reduce that some, but I feel so much better, and I just wanted to thank you for all your hard work and how much it meant to me, because I was terrified. I'm still having issues. Every time my heart speeds up when I do something, I get really scared. Since that horrible night, went to the ER 4 or 5 times before I found the REMAG, and nothing was helping. I mean, it was a living hell to wonder if when your heart's going crazy like that. I didn't know if I was going to go into VTAC or something, but your product.
Well, Roman, I'm going to say this, Roman. Yes, all those things are going to, having to get off the Neurontin, lorazepam, the magnesium was very helpful there. So, yeah, you're doing very well for the long history you've had and everything, but I'm going to get you to email Ginny at support@rnareset.com and get the, forward it to me, Ginny, and I'll introduce you to Steve. Steve is our AFib poster boy. He was on 4 meds for his AFib, and he went on the REMAG Relight and the salted water, and he got off everything, weaned himself off, and he'll on the phone sit and talk with you to try to, just answer any questions on a, person-to-person level, because it is about the fear. And, to realize that you really have found something that is a cure, and so that you can get that, the doctor's voice out of your head that keeps telling you that you're crazy to not do the ablation, or you're crazy if you think that magnesium is going to work for you. That doctor doesn't know anything about REMAG and how it's even more therapeutic than intravenous magnesium. That's why it works so well.
Carolyn, that doctor didn't get an award from the British Arrhythmia Foundation. You did.
Right. Yeah, did you read about that, Roman? I got this award from a
yes, ma'am. I did read. Yeah, I did read that. I've been very, very impressed with everything that I've read, and I've read your book 3 or 4 times. Each time I read it, I get more understanding, especially about the calcium.
Yeah.
One of the doctor I'm going to now was a lot more open to magnesium. I changed because the other doctor I was going to, they kind of laughed at me and told me that nothing like that would ever work. And so I changed and went to a new doctor, and he actually uses magnesium on some of his, patients. But I really believe what in your program, and I really believe in what you say, because it has impacted my life. I mean, it really helped me. You just don't know. I mean, it was every day. It was AFib, SVT. I've got some supraventricular tachycardia. And I think that I have been magnesium deficient most of my life, and I just didn't know it. I just didn't know what to, but I had the twitching under my eyes. I had the anxiety disorder. And I think that finally...
let me I know you're telling me your story here, Roman, and you have to, but I want you from this day forward just to say, yes, I had a magnesium deficiency. I never had a heart problem. I never had a panic problem. I just had magnesium deficiency, and now I'm getting cured. I don't want you to remind your brain about the horrible years you went through. And, I'm sorry for it, and it's just horrible that people have to go through that. But you are a new man, and although, you're still in kind of shock that, oh, my gosh, is that all it was? Then you're just you'll phone my friend Steve and talk to him and just say, okay, this is the first day of the rest of my life. The worst is so far behind me now, right?
Yes, ma'am. One more quick thing. I don't want to take your time, but I've had depersonalization since I was 18 because of the panic. The panic was never treated really well, and I didn't feel like I was in my body, and I've actually have calmed down enough, and evidently the magnesium has even helped that. I have come out I wish I would have known about this until all my youth had been gone, but I had it permanently. I didn't go in and out of it. I was in that state all the time, and I can't tell you how many drugs they put me on over the years. But
oh my gosh. Well,
but anyway,
maybe, but it's very important. I've only had a couple of people talk about the depersonalization, how it brought them back, and I'd like to know more about it. If you ever have the time or the inclination to just write out a bit of a testimonial for me, I'd like to. Without using your name and all that, I'd like to share that with people, because look how important that is. It's incredible, and
it's a living hell. Excuse my word, but to not feel like you're participating in your life and to feel like you're not even here. So I'm very, very happy, and I thank God that I ran into your book. If you know, or I would still be wandering around, you know. But anyway, that's all. I don't want to take up any more of your time, but I just wanted.
Oh no, it's incredible what you're sharing with us, and I appreciate you coming on. I mean, that takes, for someone who's been through what you've been through, it takes courage to come on the radio and speak about this, and we all really, really, truly appreciate it. And I mean for you to email Ginny at support@rnareset.com, and I'll introduce you to Steve if you'd like to, you know, just
yes,
talk
ma'am.
to
I would love to talk with him.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Roman, and you come back and visit some other time, okay?
I will. Thank you so much, Dr. Dean.
Okay, Roman. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Oh, how lovely. Very lovely. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Let's continue with our callers here this evening. Let's go to area code 408-408. That's San Jose, California. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Hi. Yes. Go ahead and give us your name and then state your question or comment.
Yeah, my name is Aaron.
Hi, Eric or Aaron?
Aaron.
Hi, Aaron. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. And first of all, I just wanted to thank you for creating the Completement products. And in 30 seconds, I'll try to give you my story and see if you can shed any kind of light on it. So I got rheumatic heart disease when I was 10 or 12 years old, and then they told me I would need my mitral valve replaced when I would be like 50 or 55. But I went into heart failure around 36 or 37. And then at age 40, I ended up in the hospital with total heart failure where my legs were full of fluids. So I had gained about 20 pounds of fluids in my legs, and they told me you have about 2 months to get your mitral valve replaced. Otherwise, you're going to need a heart transplant. So they did the mitral valve replacement, and I came out of the hospital with about 8 or 9 different drugs. And I thought, everything was cured, like I was on top of the world. I was able to breathe and walk again. But slowly, I noticed I was experiencing chronic fatigue, depression, anxiety attacks, panic attacks, and I couldn't figure out why, because my heart was repaired, the structure of the heart, and why was I having these problems? So about 14 months later, I went to visit the doctor again. And he said, well, you've got PVCs now, or heart arrhythmia, and you might need a second procedure. And I basically went into a panic mode, and they basically changed my beta blockers to a different beta blockers with a longer half-life, and that cut my heart rate in half, or my pulse in half, from 85 to 42. And I kept on telling them I'm having these side effects, but they're like, no, this is the best medication for you. Stay on it. So then they did a stress test on me, and they realized it was the medication that was causing my pulse to get cut in half. And I was getting dizzy. I thought I was going to crash on the freeway. So they finally took me off the beta blockers, and then my blood pressure just went through the roof. And I tried some off-the-shelf supplements, and they help. But when I came across your work, I realized it was a magnesium deficiency that was causing my PVCs and basically my heart, rate to be irregular. So I started taking your product, and I think it was about maybe like a week or two later, I went in for an echocardiogram, and everything was normal. So basically, well, I was kind of blown away because I didn't, my doctor told me, hey, take 3,000 milligrams of potassium chloride, but 30 milligrams of magnesium citrate. And I couldn't understand, so I remember, so I made the connection in my brain. They basically gave me magnesium through the IV every day when I was in the hospital for 20 days, right? And I made the connection that how come I'm not taking any magnesium now? And then when you mentioned in your YouTube videos that it's the pharmaceutical medications that basically deplete you of all your minerals, that's when I made the connection. Yeah. And I started using your products about 3 weeks ago. So I'm up to about 2 teaspoons of magnesium, 1 teaspoon of Remite, and about 4 RNA drops a day. And I just got my Realign, and I started with 1 capsule of Realign. So my question to you is, how long should I continue using the Realign, and how quickly can I work up my RNA drops?
Right. Well, thank you for that's an incredible story. And yes, it's those 8 or 9 drugs that you were taking after the mitral valve replacement that eventually just took your magnesium out and started your symptoms, but the doctors couldn't understand that. The Remag at 2.5 teaspoons is good. Remite, 1.5 teaspoons would be good. RNA drops, we tell people just increase by 1 or 2 drops per week. And with what you've been through to get your perfect cells, I mean, we say an average dose is 10 drops twice a day. You might need 15 drops twice a day. Realign is 2 a day. And that's ongoing, Aaron, because you've been on so many drugs. It's best to keep on the Realign as a gentle detox. We've got a lot of toxicity in the world, so it just makes sense to make Realign a constant. So that's just an overview. Did you have any follow-up questions?
No. I'm just blown away by just by taking 4 of your products, how much my energy level has increased on a daily basis. And basically, I feel like I've been given a new life, so I just wanted to thank you again. And, I am just having incredible, experiences with the RNA drops that I don't want to go into because they're off this world experiences. But when I have those experiences, I feel like I'm very re-energized and rejuvenated by having those experiences. And I'm just blown away. And I just wished if I had discovered your products in 2011, maybe I wouldn't have needed the mitral valve replacement. But that's in the past.
I don't know. Well, that is in the past. But yes, the rheumatic fever can structurally damage that mitral valve, and the surgery was probably a good idea. It's that the drugs afterward were not a good idea. So, I mean, I'm glad you got the surgery. So, yeah, try to think of it as the positive there. But you're just in your early 40s, aren't you, Aaron?
Right. Very early 40s. So 41
and,
to be exact.
So what's happening in your world, you found the information actually at a young age. I mean, if you listen to my show, it's 50, 60, 70-year-olds that, they've been sick all their lives. You heard Roman earlier.
Right.
I think, he's 50, he's been sick since he's 18. So, I mean, you've really bought a couple of decades by, I guess in a sense by being so sick. You did your research, thank goodness for the internet, and you found the information, and you're happy. You'll probably pass it on to other people so that they don't have to suffer as long as so many people are doing. I mean, that's all we want. We want people to know more about about magnesium, but yeah, we want them to know more about Remag because it's as I said earlier, even better than intravenous magnesium, and you're proving it.
Right, and I was before I took the Remag, I was taking a liquid product which was giving me the laxative effect, and I couldn't understand what was going on. But when I heard that in your YouTube videos, I realized I was getting the laxative effect, so I stopped taking that liquid product and got on your Remag. Right. But just another comment. When I was on the pharmaceutical medication and I was having these panic attacks, I felt like I wasn't going to make it beyond 50, and now I feel like I can live up to at least 90. So that's well, I mean, it's just a miracle. So it's like I don't know who to thank, but I would like to thank you. I would like to thank Bob and especially Ion as well. So because the contribution here is so great, and I'm just trying to spread the word with everybody I come in contact with, and introduce them to your product and say, hey, prevent any disease and start taking these products.
Right, that's wonderful, Aaron, and I invite you to come on Bob's Payday show because he'd love to talk with you about the RNA drops and your experience. I think that would be fantastic, and you could, meet a whole group of other people.
I would love to do that.
And talk to Ion.
Oh, great!
You can even talk to Ion about the RNA drops, what they're doing to you.
Oh yeah, I'm just blown away. What they're doing to me. I can't discuss it here, but I would love to discuss it. On the other show with you guys.
Okay, good.
Yeah, we'll look forward to hearing from you, Aaron, and I really appreciate you calling in, and I think I answered your questions, but very quickly. I just want to make sure you got your questions answered.
Right, yeah, my question was, how long should I stay on the Realign? And you said it's indefinite, so, that's right. What I wanted to hear. And and I'm really looking forward to your living water coming out, and because I'm just a fanatic about water. I mean, I go through leaps and bounds to find the right water for me. But so I'm really looking forward to your living water product when it comes out.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Yeah, the good news, Aaron, is that JW has settled on a design, so it's all the more closer.
Okay, great, because I know that'll prolong my life another 10, 20 years, so maybe I can make it to 120.
No, you won't even die, Aaron. Thinking about, we ain't dying, Aaron.
Okay. Okay, well, I don't want to take up
and that's the payday talk, right?
Yeah, that's the payday talk.
Payday talk.
Okay, I'll look forward to that information. How can I get that information when the show is going to be?
Oh, yeah, it's Achieve Radio, the same station.
The same phone number, Saturday night, 9 o'clock, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time is when we start.
Okay, this Saturday, right?
Yes, every Saturday.
Every Saturday, so it's 5 o'clock where you are Pacific time. Okay, Aaron?
Okay.
I'll send you a link to the show, Aaron. I have your email at customer support. I'll send you a link to the show.
Okay. Thanks a lot again, guys.
Okay, Aaron.
You're welcome, Aaron. Thanks for calling.
Thanks for changing, Aaron.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, bye.
All right, bye-bye.
Very good. Thank you. Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Let's go to area code 704. 704, you're on the line live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could state your name and then your question or comment. Hello, area code 704. You're on the line with Dr. Dean. Are you still there? Okay, we will come back around to that caller. Carolyn, that was a great call. Very excellent. Aaron also sent a testimonial in.
Yeah, the last two calls have been awesome. I mean, no, they're all awesome, but I'm pretty blown away too. No matter, I kind of act cool and everything, but inside my little body is just doing a happy dance.
And it's a midget body, very little body, very tiny.
Very good. Oh, that's great. Yeah, Aaron's a really great guy. He's called in customer service several times. I'm glad he called the show this evening. And Are you still there?
We're still here.
Okay, very good.
Can you
we
hear
lost
us?
power.
Yeah.
Yeah, we lost power here, though, in North Carolina. We're having big storms, and that means I will not be able to get to my internet. So you will have to...
Bob, you'll have to take care of Ann quick.
Okay. All right.
Good. And Aaron, if you're still listening, if you could write down some of your, we'll clip your audio and probably make use of that, but I'd love to blog Aaron's experience. I mean, it's just so obvious when Aaron had the surgery. He was sent out of hospital with 8 to 9 drugs, and he was good for 14 months until he started experiencing all kinds of magnesium deficiency symptoms. And, the doctors just started changing his meds around to the point that they were causing his pulse to drop to 40, which was making him dizzy. It's incredible. The allopathic medicine is just that.
Okay, Carolyn, I'm not sure if this was said. Donna from Sarasota, has there been any research on the efficacy of your products on adult cerebral palsy? Did you guys do that?
Well, no. I mean, what research? I mean, people are taking the products and it's working for them. But in terms of cerebral palsy and magnesium, in my Magnesium Miracle book, I have a couple of studies that show that magnesium is very important to prevent cerebral palsy. It can help with the spasticness of cerebral palsy. It's not going to cure it. But
Ginny does the research. She gets the calls all the time.
Right.
Ginny's the lab. How's the research showing, Ginny?
Yeah.
What results do you have?
But yes,
so I was just going to say we do have a child cerebral palsy testimonial, Carolyn. You know that one, and from Andrew about his son. So we do have that, but not adult cerebral palsy. So just wanted to say that. Go ahead.
Yes, and for those types of I guess you'd say severe conditions, we'd definitely be talking about the RNA drops and just as Aaron was telling us, it's quite amazing what they've done for him in terms of his experiences and energy level, feeling rejuvenated, and that's what they do. They make new cells.
Okay, the next point, this is a humorous thing. Someone named Sue from Wayne says, listening to Daily Living, I don't know what that is, one of the speakers might have said, at least 50 times while I was listening to the last 15 minutes. So a little irritation. Hopefully she takes her magnesium. She can tolerate that a little more. Now, Susan.
We put Bob in charge of the wrong thing.
Susan here in North Carolina, she says there's much talk of the microbiome.
We did that. We did that.
Besides the prescriptive assist. Then she says a relative has recently had migraines.
We did that. Bob, keep up.
Okay, Nancy says the audio is bad, and Jean says reception's not good.
I don't care.
But Bill fixed it. The good news, Bill applied some magnesium, and the audio is better.
Mute yourself, Bob. I do not want to hear that.
And we do research here, too, but the results are too amazing. I'm not telling anybody.
Oh, my Lord. Okay,
can I do some mailbag?
Carolyn. Yeah, my internet.
Oh, thank goodness. Bob, you're off duty. Thank goodness. Bob's pretending it's payday.
It's payday.
He'll use anything.
Time warp.
Anything to keep things going on his 20-hour show.
Yes,
okay.
Let's do some mailbag things, Carolyn.
Okay, mailbag. Someone is saying, I read in one of your writings that magnesium can control diabetic issues. Told a friend who takes meds for diabetes. He started a magnesium citrate. Now says after 3 weeks his insulin level rose. Is this because of the magnesium citrate? He's also taking coconut oil, vitamin D3, and K2. I advised him to buy your book, and he's really worried. I told him he cannot expect any changes in just 3 weeks. I also think that when we start to take magnesium, our medical problems tend to worsen before getting better. So, yes, I can't comment too much on the magnesium citrate. It's probably a very low dose. It probably just stirred things up. I don't know how much D3 the person is taking. If it's over 1,000 milligrams, it can interfere with that little bit of magnesium. I mean, all we know is from the people who tell us with their blood sugar problems, when they take Remag, they find that their blood sugar levels are reduced. Actually, we had an email recently, it might be further in the mailbag, about someone who increased his RNA drops and found that that's what helped control his blood sugar levels after he was kind of bouncing out on his Remag and Remite. So again, these are people who are looking at magnesium as if it's a drug. You take the drug, it's supposed to do something. Even though drugs don't do what we think they're going to do. Drugs cause all kinds of side effects. People have this expectation of magnesium. So all I can say is tell your friend to take Remag and Remite for the other minerals, get some Realign to detox, cut back on vitamin D, watch out for the intake of calcium. In other words, read the Remite and Remag books on under the info link at rnareset.com and educate yourselves about what you're taking. And the next one is at 2:38 my time. A couple is saying, we take your Remag. I'm trying to get my husband on your whole protocol. He had AFib for the past year. After 4 cardioversions and an ablation, he's now in normal sinus rhythm, and I want to make sure he stays in it. But we have to wait for disability to kick in. I think you may have already saved both our lives. Love you. So that was very sweet. Another person, I bought your Remag a week ago. My heart was in sinus, but I took some anyway. I didn't feel any change. Oh, yes, I think we might have read this before. Today, July 5th, watching TV, I got excited during the movie, and my heart started to beat faster and then went into AFib. Very unusual since I've been in sinus for a long period of time. Now, I remember Dr. Dean wrote about stopping a palpitation. I poured 1 teaspoon of Remag into a bottle, filled it with 4 ounces of water, and drank all of it. Nothing happened for about 10 or 15 seconds. Then, boom, immediately back into sinus. I told my wife, and I couldn't stop talking about the swiftness and completeness of the Remag action. I'm writing this email 10 minutes after the miracle. Okay, and then this is, yes, someone about their blood sugar levels. I'm on 10 drops of RNA. My blood sugar levels have not come down. And I'm going to give my answers as I did to this person in the email right away. So I said it's 10 drops twice a day is a better average dose than just 10 drops a day. He said taking 2 spoons of magnesium and 1 spoon of Relight. And I said I can't diagnose or prescribe, but most people with chronic conditions also require Realign to help detox and take out the trash. He said, why is it that I'm not progressing? My energy levels are low. I have body pain all over. And I said, some people require 3 teaspoons of Remag and 2 teaspoons of Remite in a liter of salted water sipped through the day. I gave the water and salt guidelines. And then he said, recently I've had a root canal removed, so I no longer poison my system. And I said, that's good. And I said that could be one reason for toxicity for which you require Realign to detox before new cells can be made. And I said it does take time to undo a lifetime of imbalance and mineral deficiency, so you must be patient and know you're on the right path and the right protocol. within a couple of days, the person said, emailed back and said, I'm now taking 30 drops for the past 2 days, and my energy levels are getting much better. My blood test says my magnesium levels are in the healthy range. I have a feeling upping the dosage of RNA drops likely solved the issue. So it's, he listened to what I said, increasing the amount, and then reported back in. So it's, a little bit of adjusting as you go along. That's really important. Will I continue, Ginny?
Very good. Let me just touch base again with our live callers, area code 602-666-6027. If you're on the line and have a question or comment, if you could hit *5 on your keypad. I know we had area code 704. Are you there to ask your question? Area code 704? Okay, they keep raising their hand, but they can't seem to get through on the phone for some reason. You'd have to take your phone off mute because I can't hear you. Yeah. Okay, live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. We're just going to keep going through our mailbag, and I'll circle back around again and see if we can get you on the phone. Any other callers? Hit *5 on your keypad if you have a question or comment. Otherwise, Carolyn, yes, let's go back to the mailbag for more questions.
This person says, I have had such an amazing turnaround with severe leg cramps and back problems since starting with REMAG. I tell everybody that I can about it. So that was very sweet, short and sweet. Okay.
Short, sweet, good. Oh, let's go ahead and take this call. I think it finally came through. We're going to go to Twin Cities, Minnesota, area code 952. You're on the line with Dr. Carolyn Dean. If you could state your name and then your question or comment.
Well, hello. Hi, this is Jan. Thank you so much for taking my call. And
okay,
the reason,
Jan, go ahead.
Great. It's wonderful to talk to you. I was diagnosed with celiac about a year ago and took all the gluten out of my diet, and in turn continued to lose weight. So I had some DNA testing, and I found that I had variant chromosomes in processing histamine and also 2 variant chromosomes processing sulfur. So I'm trying to get my arms around all this, and I was wondering, first of all, how could magnesium help in maybe these 2 I'll call them mutations that I have. I do take quite a bit of magnesium oil right now, and I also, take some orally also, the magnesium citrate. And I'm wondering, how does magnesium help with these mutations along with, are there any things in your product that would either release histamine or be a problem with sulfur, whether it's the fermentation in your RNA or anything like that?
Well, I've written a few blogs, Jan, about genetics, mainly around the MTHFR, how people are getting all this genetic testing now and finding out they have such and such problems, and then, what's the solution? So I don't, about the histamine, magnesium is very helpful for any sort of inflammation. I consider magnesium very important as an epigenetic factor that helps keep the genes from expressing themselves in certain negative ways. I have no idea what it would do specifically to you. I would say that it would be better to use the REMAG because it gets directly into the cells compared with the citrate or the transdermal oils. The magnesium citrate, if it's the powder into a liquid, I mean, it can be 20% absorbed into the blood. We don't know how much gets into the cells. But as for the sulfur, It'd be interesting. Our Realign has sulfur-based amino acids. I don't know if that would mean it would be good for you or not good for you. I don't know what these tests uncover. I tend not to, certainly not to do those tests because I just find that they stir up more than they can help a person. So I don't know. I mean, what's your experience with getting these tests? Have they helped your health any?
Well, that's a wonderful question, and I think what it makes you analyze things probably way too much, which can be, a problem. Although I have found that I read a lot about the adrenal glands and how they release the histamine when there's an imbalance of, the magnesium, the calcium, and especially the potassium and the sodium. And I realized if I have something that's very high potassium, for instance, like a coconut water, that I feel horrible. And I'm finding maybe I'm very low in sodium. My other question for you is I know that you recommend, I love your book, Magnesium Miracle. I think it's just a Bible. And I think you recommend actually taking the water and putting in a quarter of a teaspoon of salt. I wonder what your feelings are. There's someone who seems to be somewhat credible online talking about sodium being a natural antihistamine, and that what they recommend is actually taking numerous times a day is actually putting the salt on your tongue and letting it dissolve in your mouth rather than, in the water, and then follow it up with the water. Do you have any feel for that or know anything about that?
I don't think that's as helpful. See, what's helpful, a number of things you've said here now. When you said about the coconut water and the potassium throwing things off, potassium doesn't work well unless you have enough magnesium. And this business about sodium and potassium and then putting salt on and treating it like it's a medicine, I say just get yourself on a protocol, define the protocol, and do that every day, and don't go running after symptoms. Because it's impossible to define, what you're feeling when you're trying to juggle 4 different electrolytes, the magnesium, calcium, potassium, and sodium. Sodium is required for the adrenal glands, and that's why I say the quarter teaspoon of sea salt or Himalayan salt in every liter of drinking water. Drink half your body weight in pounds in ounces of water every day. So you're drinking that much salt every day. In your then in your Remag, in my world, the 2 and 3 teaspoons a day will give you the predominant mineral that you need to help balance your potassium and your sodium and your calcium. Your calcium, as I've written, equal amounts with magnesium. If you're taking 600-800 of magnesium, take that amount of calcium in your food. Fermented dairy is dairy that does not have lactose in it. If you can't take any dairy, use bone broth. Use your blackstrap molasses, your leafy greens, your nuts and seeds. The gentleman earlier said when he eats cheese, he knows he's affecting his magnesium because there's so much calcium in cheese. There's a whole list of non-lactose cheeses. So I just tell people, look, it's as basic as my 4 products. Get on a balanced regimen. Do it every day. Don't play teeter-totter, back and forth as if you can figure out what your genius body is trying to do. You give it the building blocks and let it kind of sort itself out. Does that make sense, Jan?
It does, and I think it's great advice, and I really appreciate it. Can I mention one thing is that the ferment, things that are fermented, and I don't take very well, and I think it's probably because of the histamine. They say that I really aggravate things. And I'm wondering, I don't do much dairy, and I don't do calcium supplements. And I do a bone broth that I cook for, 3 days. And I try to have a cup of that a day, along with, lots of greens, when I love salads. But is that, would a cup of bone broth be enough to cover most of my calcium?
Well, it's, I know when I realized I needed a lot of magnesium, I didn't take any dairy or any calcium supplements for years. And it was only this past year I started feeling my knees a little bit that I started to think, okay, it's time for calcium. And, I don't recommend you wait for symptoms necessarily, but, if you get blood tests once or twice a year, you could do your calcium levels and see where you're at. I think people are very surprised that they are getting as much calcium as they are. And what you can do is go to the macrobiotic Kukicha tea. Do you know that one?
No, I'm not familiar.
Or Kukicha. Yeah, Kukicha, and it's the green Kukicha tea has a lot of calcium. I don't know how much, but if you're doing bone broth, you do Kukicha tea, you do your greens, you could add all that up, and you're probably getting 500-600 milligrams.
Oh, great! I'll look into that. Thank you very much. The last thing I was going to mention is that I think another thing that has helped with the histamine is your Prescript Assist. And since I can't do a probiotic, because it aggravates the histamine, is because that's a soil-based product. It's been wonderful, and I think that, and I found it from you, and I really appreciate that. One last quick question, if I can throw one more in, is that, and I don't know if it's histamine related, but with all this happening, one way that I like to relax is I like to have a gluten-free beer. And unfortunately, is that kind of zaps your magnesium, doesn't it? Alcohol?
It does, but even more so at this point, it is going to grow yeast in your intestines.
Oh, yeah.
And, that can be a bit of a problem while you're balancing things out. And really, I do believe, the histamine business and the sulfur business is the immune system just being a bit out of whack, maybe from magnesium deficiency. I don't know for sure in your case, but when things are out of whack in the body, the yeast in the intestines tends to overgrow. And you can email Ginny for the long yeast questionnaire to see if maybe your symptoms fit in there. Because I find, my clients do have this histamine issues and sulfur issues. I've come across that. But I still go back to the complement formulas and treating yeast overgrowth as the two basics that seem to override all these things that are turning up on all these crazy genetic tests.
Sounds great. I really appreciate your time tonight. Is the RNA, is that a fermented product?
It is. We can't say it's fermented anymore because nothing shows up. The gluten does not show up in it. Ginny, what would you say about that?
It's not a fermented product, no, not in the classic sense. It is a biological sugar that's harvested through the barley sprouting process, and it has a lot of beneficial effects, including it's got prebiotics and probiotics, as well as beta-glucans that help control cholesterol, and also very beneficial trimethylated lysine, which is extraordinary, proprietary to the RNA drops, that is very supportive of the immune system. So it's a very good product.
Right. I'll give it a shot. Good. Hey, I waited for a long time, and I really, really appreciate all the great comments and the suggestions. And I'm going to hang up so someone else can get a chance here, too. I know there's probably others waiting.
Thank you very much, Jan. Good call. Lots of good questions.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye.
All right, very good. We're live with Dr. Carolyn Dean. Geez, Carolyn, we had great callers in the second hour. What fun to talk to these fabulous people who are really intelligent and committed and using the products well and asking great questions and sharing their experience. It's really been delightful.
Yeah, wonderful evening. And let me just finish with this, if I could, unless you have anything else.
Nope, that sounds wonderful.
Someone's asking about, does magnesium increase viral counts? They've read somewhere that viruses like magnesium, and will taking magnesium make viruses worse? And I don't know where people get this information, but everything needs everything. I mean, organisms need all the vitamins and minerals just like humans. So to say we should not take magnesium because we're worried about creating viruses is like, let's not eat anything to starve all the viruses. And as we die, the viruses die. So there's absolutely no truth to any rumors about magnesium being needed for viruses. Therefore, we should not use magnesium. And with that, I rest my day.
Very good. This has been Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on Achieve Radio. Thanks, everybody, for joining in and listening. We'll be back next week. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, have a good week.
Thanks, Ginny. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks, Carolyn. Thanks, Jenny. Thanks, listeners.
Thanks, listeners.
You've been listening to Live with Dr. Carolyn Dean here on AchieveRadio.com. Till next time, so long, and thanks for all the fish.
Achieve Radio.